Thanks for joining us. We are Deplorable Rhetoric on WSTBR. Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. You can also reach us on Facebook at Deplorable Rhetoric, on Instagram, Deplorable_Rhetoric, and on Twitter, we rant the number 2 rate.
All right, good evening. No morning today. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to She's the Boss Radio. 24 hours, 7 days a week. Focus on topics to build, strengthen, inspire, as well as motivate men, women, and youth from the home to the conference room and around our community. I'm Sigourney.
I'm Aron.
And we are Deplorable Rhetoric. Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to be part of the show by calling 443-272-5922. You can always go to she'sthebossradio.com to check out our show and other shows that are on this network. You can also go to tunein.com or Shoutcast. Tell Alexa or Siri to play She's the Boss Radio. And be sure to follow She's the Boss Radio on Facebook, She's the Boss Radio on Twitter, WSTBRN on IG, and WSTBR on Twitch and Tumblr. And hit the bell or the check or whatever it is that you need to get live notifications. Okay, so as always, we talk about COVID. And today's no exception. So let's get into it. So the big thing that I saw with COVID is there's a debate, I guess. BBC News reported that there's a toxic debate over lab leak theory that hampers the search for COVID origins. At this point, they are saying that it was constructed in a lab coming out of China, and something must have happened that it eventually leaked out and affected a lot of people. It says there are a few, right. Well, that's what I was saying. There are a few scientific debates as divisive and toxic as the question of COVID's origin. While researching for the upcoming podcast I'm making for the BBC about it, so this is John Sudworth, that's the I in this, that I'm making for the BBC about it, I've heard virologists question the motives and professionalism of colleagues with whom they disagree over two alternative possibilities. They are whether the virus infected its okay. Was it? Okay, anyway, I'm gonna read it as written. They are whether the virus infected its first human in a Wuhan market or in a Chinese government-controlled lab. I wouldn't want him to do that experiment, one eminent virologist said dismissively of another who had raised questions about the risk of the Wuhan scientist's work. Professional relationships have been damaged and, friendships lost. Some have simply had enough. Nothing personal, but I'm not prepared to take part in anything that gives airtime to the lab leak conspiracy. Horseshit. Wow. Okay. One virologist said to me when I invited him to take part in our series. It should be no surprise then that the U.S. intelligence agencies and government departments have also struggled to reach a consensus on COVID's origins. I think when I first heard this, I was kind of like, who cares, dude? Like, it affected a lot of people. Like, we need to deal with this. But it could be important to know the origins so that, again, if something similar pops up, maybe they could be better equipped to deal with it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. So just my initial reaction was like, who cares? But there may be a real reason to care. Because like I said, I'm not a virologist or anything. So I don't know. But I guess it's interesting to me that they're having this discussion at all. But I guess it's warranted. I guess it's needed. So, all right. This was out of Baltimore, just some local news about a testing site that is closing. It does COVID-19 testing and vaccinations. So closure comes as Maryland's COVID-19 cases dropped by more than 50% since the spike in January, which, was just 2 months ago. So this is as reported by WBAL-TV. Okay, bye-bye. So the state COVID-19 testing and vaccination site shut down Saturday in Baltimore City. Its closure comes as Maryland sees COVID-19 metrics trend in a more positive direction, down almost 50% since the recent spike in January. As of Friday, which, now that I think about that, that's kind of funny given you just heard someone, telling people to wear masks because things are spiking right now. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case. Apparently, it's down 50%. So
yeah, and those numbers I told you, I don't believe nothing they say.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, if it's down 50%, chances are it's still down. Mm-hmm. Like, I doubt it's up 50%.
Not drastically, yeah.
But no, I do believe it's down. But yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be people that don't report certain things. And I think at this point it's a little easier to track because it is less people. I mean, when COVID first hit and it was Delta, I mean, man, that was just a whole mess. Like people who had it might have thought it was something else, and then of course we know about Cuomo and what he did in New York, not reporting things as he should have for the nursing homes. But I feel like at this point, then since not as many people are getting affected, hopefully it'd be easier to track. But of course, there's still liars out there. So, as of Friday, the state reported 534 new cases and fewer than 400 COVID-19 patients needed hospitalizations. After serving the Baltimore community for 16 months, the State Center COVID-19 Vaccination Testing and Treatment Center is now officially closed. It's a bittersweet day, said Dr. Zahan Sadiq, assistant professor of medicine at Johns Hopkins Medicine and a member of the Baltimore Convention Center Task Force. The site opened in November 2021 as a joint venture of the Maryland Department of Health. I actually thought all of these were closed. I didn't even know some of these places were still open.
And I get emails about them all the time or text messages telling me what site I can go to get a booster.
Oh, yeah, see, I don't even look into it. I just see it's a text and I just, I'm like, whatever. But at any rate, we have to go to break. We will be right back. All right, so let me find this thing. Governor Moore appoints somebody. Teachers quitting a lot.
Right.
Maryland health experts say what? Parents.
It's second to the last one.
Parents beware. Yet another. Oh yeah, I knew there was something else I wanted to say. Damn. Oh wow, I didn't have time anyway.
Say it now. Come back.
CDC finds that people age 12 years old who got COVID update were less likely to. Did I report it? No, I didn't report on that one either. No. All right, so what is it even about? Another virus, blah, 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 even RSV and the flu. What? Oh.
You could listen to one of those we just make other stations. The internet's best choice your friends think. You could listen to one of those other stations. What would your friends think?
Yeah, that's the sound of today's business community. It's a dog-eat-dog world and only the strong survive. The challenge is navigating the ever-changing business environment to put your business in the forefront. So how does your business keep up with the changes? That's where She's the Boss Network comes in. She's the Boss Network is an internet media network that's been helping businesses like yours get the exposure that you're looking for at reasonable cost by way of radio and video. They'll help you stay successful by navigating change and seeing the big picture. After She's the Boss Network analyzes your business and marketing strategies, you'll start to see a media presence like you've never seen in your business before. And She's the Boss Network doesn't stop there. They use their findings to create a practical plan of action. A plan that will get your business from where you are to where you need to be. There you go. Lock those dogs up for good by giving She's the Boss Network a call at 866-494-5945, extension 101, or by checking their website at she'sthebossradio.com. Again, that's 866-494-5945, extension 101, or she'sthebossradio.com.
Hey, I'm Jenny James for Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner. You've probably been home a lot more. Maybe you have kids like me who spill all the time, and you've noticed that your carpet's not looking so good. Why don't you call Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner? They use a dry extraction service, so you won't have wet carpet all day long, and you can get back to doing the things you love with your family immediately. And it's a way to make your room healthier while improving your indoor air quality. You can do tile, slate, granite, ceramic, area rugs, and yes, they're pet-friendly too. Why don't you get a free, no-obligation estimate today? NeatlyDoneSanAntonio.com.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
So, right now we're going to talk about my favorite person. Well, one of my favorite people. Project Baltimore tracks down school leadership to get answers about troubling test scores, especially since 23 city schools have zero students score proficient in math on a state exam. So on February the 27th, 2023, Fox News was reporting what happened with Project Baltimore's attempt 12 emails and several phone calls to the state board of education, not getting any response. And since multiple requests for interview were ignored, Project Baltimore decided to meet the school CEO or the state superintendent about how they plan to help the students at those schools or at those 23 schools that can't do math. So they chased her down. They tracked her down. As soon as they walked in the Edmondson Village town hall she was having, Dr. Santelises decided to get up and walk out. She
I
walked.
mean, why even go if you're just gonna leave?
She saw Project Baltimore coming
Oh, okay.
and left. Dr. Santelises. They asked her. They said, can we get a quick word with you? Can we ask you a couple questions about the recent MCAP scores that came out about math for school systems? Project Baltimore's Chris Pabst said while trying to catch up with the CEO. Earlier this month, earlier February, Project Baltimore investigation found 23 Baltimore City schools where not a single student who took the MCAP math exam scored proficient. While that report has sparked public outcry, drawing national attention, Dr. Santelises has refused to answer Project Baltimore's questions about her school system. I think parents would like to hear directly from you, said Pabst after catching up to Santelises. They do, she replied. Chris, parents have heard. I've heard that at the board meetings, we're rolling out our plan. We're visiting schools. We have, Chris. So how much? So much that they don't see you. They asked her, they said, what's the plans? She said, they're already on the website. You can look it up. So as they were communicating with her, she jumped in the car and pulled off. So right now, the Maryland State Department of Education, Mr. Mohammed Chandri, has a plan that's going to cost $11 billion to help Baltimore City schools. But they have not given Project Baltimore any response on what that is, what that money would go to. So what do you think about this?
I mean, I'm over the whole thing.
Yeah.
I already said that.
Yeah.
I don't really think too much of it. I think she just needs to go, and someone better needs to come in.
But that's the whole problem, though. As soon as they gave the title CEO and made people control or principals control schools, from my experience, as soon as they made them CEOs and gave them the whole money for each school, the money just seems to disappear. And these students, remember a couple years back, there were teachers taking exams for the students.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, there were several. And again, Dr. Chandri keeps saying that they have responded to Project Baltimore in reference to their questions about the school MCAP testing scores, and they haven't actually done it. They haven't answered any question, but are requesting $11 billion in funding, but there is no outline or paperwork to show where that $11 billion is going to go to. The schools are falling apart. There's asbestos, there's mold. Nothing works in the schools except the main office. That's the only place that's
their current budget is $11 billion. It's not a request. That's what their budget is right now.
Yeah, but where's that $11 billion going?
No, I was just saying it's something that they already have. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not going where it needs to. Schools still suck. So,
But this is the whole thing. the Board of Education for Baltimore City seems to not want to answer questions. They're not willing to move forward in a positive way. They don't like to be attacked. They feel attacked when you ask them questions that you're holding them to the fire.
Right.
So as of today, they still haven't. They have not responded. And Lawson is another person that's with the Board of Education. And he said, I'm very busy. And this is a very busy time for legislation season. And I have replied to your questions. I've replied to your emails. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, even the mayor, this is back in early February, a month ago, the mayor was ignoring questions that they were asking about this. So everybody all around is just, they're not doing what they should to ensure that the kids are actually learning. It says that 7% of 3rd through 8th graders tested proficient in math, meaning 93% did not, that they're not even on grade level. So I don't understand how that's not concerning to people, and why. And it says the city math scores are the lowest in the state. I'm not surprised with that. And to your point about the money, I'd like to know where it's going to.
Yeah, because you're talking about
$11
$11 billion. When you look at Baltimore City Public Schools, I'm wondering where's $11 billion going to?
Is billion or million?
Billion.
Oh, I thought.
No, it's billion with a B. And I'm trying to understand, that's a lot of money. But yet you haven't fixed the air, the heat. You haven't taken care of the molding and the asbestos in the schools. Water fountains are covered with plastic bags. Kids can't get to it. The bathrooms are a wreck. So at what point can we get some transparency?
Yeah. And this guy, John Deddy, political analyst, he said, because no one from Scott's communication team responded, he said, I think they are ignoring it because they don't have an answer. Because they don't have an answer. He said that the issue of poor student performance stretches beyond the walls of the classroom. Without a properly educated workforce, Dede said companies won't want to move to the area and hire employees. Companies aren't going to come to your state or region to work, he said. They don't want to hire stupid people. They don't want people who aren't proficient in math.
Right.
So, I mean,
but
he didn't have to say stupid, but I get his point. Like, I mean, that's
poor choice words.
Yeah. It makes no sense. And then even Ryan Dorsey's, who, there were some things that I liked about him, but anyway, he said that he's not going to talk about it either. When he was asked for a comment, and so. I mean, that's because you guys don't have anything to say. You don't have.
At some point, this is coming. Project Baltimore is good at what they do.
Yeah.
They will expose. They're going to
That's why people get up and leave, because they don't want to deal with it.
Right. But that makes you look even worse. Like, who wants a person to represent me and can't answer questions that, like the guy Pap said, parents need to know. Yeah. You're supposed to be head of educational system in Baltimore City. Yes, your kids go to private schools in the county, but you're dealing with Baltimore City's public schools. And since she's been in office, she hasn't done diddly squat. Right. Not one goddamn thing. How many times since 2015, me and her, like I've been on her? Because she is pathetic. She's a disgrace.
And not even just her, like Delegate Lewis didn't answer questions. Delegate Stephanie Smith, when she had a hearing, and when she was questioned about it, she just walked into the committee room. She just walked away. Corey McCrae, along with Kaylin Young and Jackie Addison, they did a joint thing saying it's a shared responsibility among us all, the necessary resources and support to achieve their fullest potential. And improving the outcomes require a commitment to providing students with the necessary resources and support to achieve their fullest potential.
I mean, at least she said something, but again,
the three of them, yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing. If Baltimore City Public Schools superintendent, she's supposed to be the first person you go to. She's the first line of defense for all the legislators. Mm-hmm. They give her what she requests. I want to know, put all this on her and on the mayor. I'm dropping this ton of bricks on them.
Oh wow! So the Baltimore City operates with a $1.6 billion budget. The other one was the Maryland budget. So those are two different ones, but still, 1.6 billion is a lot, and y'all aren't. It says it comes out to 21,000 per student. So
Right. That's why they were putting dead people, dead kids on the rolls and everything
Right.
because they were getting money for each one. And it shouldn't be education is not about enriching you. It's about educating kids.
and it's still the largest in the top 5 of all large school districts nationwide when it comes to per pupil funding.
Yeah.
Why aren't the pupils getting the funding?
Like I go back to when my son was in elementary school, we bought an air conditioner because the school didn't have air conditioning in
Right.
classrooms.
There's no investigation so far either, of
Right.
course.
Well, I mean, his elementary school is gone now, so
No, I mean in general.
yeah,
There's no
Project Baltimore's the
investigation.
one doing. Yeah, I hold.
Well, they're reporting that there's no official
Oh, yeah,
investigation
yeah.
from Annapolis
They're
about
not going
this.
to.
But we have to go to break. We will be right back.
You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? She's the boss. Radio Network.
Bored with the traditional wedding, birthday, or special occasion celebrations? Do you feel like you just don't want all of the pressure of coordinating your own event? Do your friends all seem to become professional event planners for your memorable moments? Are you thinking of getting engaged and want a romantic way of doing it? Let us design it for you. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Let our photographers help you to make a statement. Want to make an impression with a beautiful arrangement? Speak with our floral designers. Zeal Enterprises, an all-inclusive event management company that provides complete consulting and coordinating services for weddings, anniversaries, reunions, theme and birthday parties, festivals, conventions, and conferences. Our team of professionals are excited to work with you. Call today, 866-494-5945, or go online to www.zealbnr.com to begin designing your event. Remember, in everything you do, do it with zeal.
Hey, I'm Jenny James for Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner. You've probably been home a lot more. Maybe you have kids like me who spill all the time, and you've noticed that your carpet's not looking so good. Why don't you call Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner? They use a dry extraction service, so you won't have wet carpet all day long, and you can get back to doing the things you love with your family immediately. And it's a way to make your room healthier while improving your indoor air quality. You can do tile, slate, granite, ceramic, area rugs, and yes, they're pet friendly too. Why don't you get a free, no obligation estimate today? NeatlyDoneSanAntonio.com.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
All right, guys, we're back. So this is from Vice News. It's about teachers. And this is something I heard about a few years ago because during COVID, a lot of teachers were at their wits' end having to do like virtual learning and things like that. But there's always been an issue with them having to pay for their own supplies in schools and not getting enough resources, you know, from the states or counties, whatever that they live in. So Vice did an article, teachers are quitting in droves and posting about it on TikTok. Gotta love TikTok. So hashtag teacher quit talk is a window into the larger crisis in American education. So the article says when Nick Munez came across a TikTok of a teacher sitting in her car crying after quitting her job, he recognized her pain instantly. You're going to get there, I promised. He said in reply to her video, you sound like me. Up until a couple months ago, I was a 6.5-year educator until December. Munez is a 31-year-old former high school teacher who used this video to share how unsure he was about leaving the only job he ever wanted and what he found helpful during his transition. He told Vice News that for teachers who often let their profession become their identities, TikTok tell-alls made by others who left can be comforting and provide an invaluable resource. I find it funny just because it's about, this is about TikTok too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's such a larger issue behind the scenes with it because of course Republicans are trying to get rid of it because the Chinese own it and they're spying on us and all this stuff.
They've been spying on,
So
just
every
like we've
time
been
I hear
spying
TikTok,
on.
right, that's
Yeah.
just what I think about. But anyway, it has been helpful. So, people talk about how they learn stuff on there, which
Yeah.
just ask an older person. They could have told you the same thing. People want to act like these things are new that they're putting on TikTok. But anyway, that's again another issue. But there's always been this social stigma that we can't talk about leaving. We're told you're abandoning kids, and how dare you leave us in a tight situation. There's always this kind of guilt that comes along with it, he said. But that's been breaking down in the last couple of years, and teachers are realizing that they're not just this one thing. So he's hundreds of former teachers creatively sharing their stories about quitting education under hashtags like hashtag teacher quick talk, hashtag ex teachers of TikTok, and hashtag life after teaching. On the platform, some former teachers have filmed their last emotional moments in their empty classrooms and posted them with noir-esque voiceovers. Others are explaining to the camera how they built up the courage to leave just moments before hitting record. And there are former teachers who left the profession months ago, documenting their slow transition to other careers. Some, like Muniz, are giving advice on how to leave education without going broke. And that is a tough thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously some people probably just quit right then and there. Like something might have happened, triggered them, they just quit.
Some people just give 5-hour notices and walk out.
But the thing is, that's tough because then what are you going to do to pay your bills? You're not going to have another check rolling in. So that could be something that's scary, but it speaks to the larger issue of why did they quit all of a sudden in the first place? Like what's happening that they feel the need to even do that? And again, there's a few examples I gave earlier, but there's a number of reasons. It's already stressful being a teacher. It already is. You're dealing with a bunch of kids who don't want to listen. And I can only imagine in this day and age where kids are growing up on tablets and phones and everything, and they're constantly distracted. Their attention span is even less than what it was probably when I was younger. So it's harder to keep them engaged, and you have to come up with all these great ideas. But, on top of that, you got to buy your own supplies because funding's bad or whatever it may be. I know that I didn't actually watch the video, but I know I saw on Twitter, there was some school that I'm going to say was mostly white because I don't know if any other races were there. But it was trending because of all these cool amenities and all these awesome things they had in this school. And it's well, how the hell? People are probably okay, our school doesn't even have books that are current. And yeah, you guys have all these different amenities. What's going on with that? And so, they could be fudging numbers too to get things that they want, get the funding that they need, or it could just be something else.
Yeah, well, I could speak for Montgomery County. My old school, it was just, you've never been in there, have you? That school has monitors all over the school. It has an indoor swimming pool, above ground swimming pool, tennis courts, it's got everything. It was better than when we were in school. It didn't have anything when we were there. But
that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's a high tech school now. Yeah. And I'm like, hold up, what happened?
Yeah, they somehow got more funding, and that's also in Montgomery County, which is the richest county in Maryland. But, yeah, so there's that as well. But yeah, so anyway, teaching has never been an easy job. Stacy Edmondson, a dean at Sam Houston State University's College of Education, told Vice News, but it has become more challenging, certainly post-pandemic, because you have hearing loss, the social and emotional challenges that come from a world where students find themselves back in school after, learning loss. I was like, how is this hearing loss? Learning loss. Okay, where students find themselves back in school after a year or two of being out of that environment. And they already say, kids, during the summer, they kind of lose things. But imagine, having to do the virtual or being out of school for however long because of whatever reason. Because I can't imagine all schools were able to just jump on that virtual thing. Right. You got to think about rural areas and poorer states like Mississippi. I can only imagine how things went down there. It's already a poor state. The education is already, they're already 49th, 50th when it comes to education. So it's tough. But anyway, so we've also seen more politicization of public education and the role of teachers. She continued referencing heated national debates about school and gun safety, and that's a whole other thing, guns. But anyway, the banning of books and critical race theory. Thank you, DeSantis. The general interest in teaching among American workers has been declining for more decades. In 2019, American colleges awarded fewer than 90,000 undergraduate degrees in education, down from nearly 200,000. That's
Wow.
more than 50%, guys. Down from nearly 200,000 degrees awarded annually during the 1970s, according to the National Education Association. So, meanwhile, the morale of those already in the field has plummeted. A 2022 study conducted by the Education Weekly Research Center found that just 12% of teachers nationally are very satisfied with their jobs. And a study from the National Education Association found that 55% of teachers are considering leaving the profession earlier than planned.
Well, also, there's a lot of teachers that are in charter schools. So, of course,
Hmm.
certain I'm talking about public schools. So the teachers that are in charter schools, private schools, of course, they're well funded. Everything is good. Unfortunately, for the teachers that are in the community, in the city public sector, I feel so bad for them. I remember one worked at Starbucks on Boston Street and was a teacher and was looking for another part time job. She said every
I feel
year
her.
she makes sure she buys extra school supplies
Yeah,
and she doesn't have any.
right. That's because kids are going to come and their parents aren't able to do it.
And
Um,
it's sad. And then parents, I hold parents accountable too.
yeah.
Like there is no way your kid is going to a school and you don't know what's going on. That that kills me. That like to me I think that's the dumbest thing.
Jessica Meadows, 27, spent 3.5 years teaching in middle and high schools in Michigan and Colorado before deciding to leave in January of 2022. Last month, she shared the final video she recorded of her own old classroom. A wise woman once packed all her stuff and said, "Okay, all right, don't ban me, Lakita. I'm just reading this." A wise woman once packed all her stuff and said, "This fucked up shit will not be my story." A soundbite says wistfully as Meadows paces around a barren classroom. This audio was popular among other teachers, more than a dozen of whom used it in their own hashtag teacher quit talk videos. Meadows says that more than a year after leaving, she feels 100 times, quote, better mentally and physically. And I get it. I mean, again, like I said, even before COVID and all that stuff, it was still the stress of buying supplies, still the stress of dealing with all these little personalities. And not only that, you're dealing with parent personalities as well. I had a teacher friend who, she worked in Montgomery County, and students acted, like they were above everybody. Parents acted like that, so you saw where the students were getting it. But she had to deal with all that, and it was very tough. And cell phones alone were tough for her. She even tried to incorporate that into the curriculum, but that didn't necessarily work out. So yeah, even before COVID and stuff, there was all those issues. But now you're talking about a whole new set of issues. And I don't know where majority of the country is now. I imagine pretty much everybody's got to be back in the classroom, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure. But yeah, teachers are just not able to bounce back. And during COVID, during that pandemic, yeah, a lot of teachers quit. They were tired. They didn't want to deal with it anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. But but there's, all around we can see that there's issues with education, and how things need to be there. And again, it goes back to the money issue that we were talking about with the last story. Where is the money going with for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these schools? Because it's so wild to me that Baltimore City has one of the highest budgets for schools in the country, not even in the state,
Right.
in the country, and yet you can see that it's not reaching where it needs to. You
Not
hear,
even a little
I
bit.
mean, you see, I'm sure on the local news they talk about it. Then of course you read the articles where it talks about HVAC systems still being broken, and so schools got to shut down because there's no heat. Schools got shut down because it's too hot and there's no air. It's just crazy. And so kids are already losing their learning because of that. And then, I mean, the planet's warming up. We can't really talk about snow days. We haven't really had any, but that was an issue. There's a lot of snow days. And so you're pushing back the last day of school a few weeks, and that's a problem. So, there's just always something that's going on. But where are the people that are supposed to be fixing these issues? Well, apparently they're getting $400,000 a year and doing nothing. So.
How about it? Santa Lisa's.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really upsetting and sad. And I don't really know what's gonna make. I mean, okay, well, part of it, what can make it better, is voting the proper people in. Some people are not voted in. Some people are picked for their positions, and I do understand that. But sometimes those people picked are picked by people that we vote for. So again, knowing who you're voting for and understanding the ramifications of that of your voting is very essential. And so again, just gotta tell people, like, look at who you want. Because like
Representing you.
And you have someone like DeSantis. I mean, obviously the Floridians love him, but he is trying to gut everything, especially when it comes to education. He's picking fights with everybody about drag shows and education, critical race theory, trying to get rid of not get rid of, but deal with like vaccines and stuff. Like, he's just all over the place, just trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do to Florida, but
Florida's already dumb.
yeah. But anyway, we gotta go to break. We'll be right back.
You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think?
Yeah, that's the sound of today's business community. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and only the strong survive. The challenge is navigating the ever-changing business environment to put your business in the forefront. So how does your business keep up with the changes? That's where She's the Boss Network comes in. She's the Boss Network is an internet media network that's been helping businesses like yours get the exposure that you're looking for at reasonable cost by way of radio and video. They'll help you stay successful by navigating change and seeing the big picture. After She's the Boss Network analyzes your business and marketing strategies, you'll start to see a media presence like you've never seen in your business before. And She's the Boss Network doesn't stop there. They use their findings to create a practical plan of action, a plan that will get your business from where you are to where you need to be. There you go. Lock those dogs up for good by giving She's the Boss Network a call at 866-494-5945, extension 101, or by checking their website at she'sthebossradio.com. Again, that's 866-494-5945, extension 101, or she'sthebossradio.com.
Hey, I'm Jenny James for Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner. You've probably been home a lot more. Maybe you have kids like me who spill all the time, and you've noticed that your carpet's not looking so good. Why don't you call Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner? They use a dry extraction service, so you won't have wet carpet all day long, and you can get back to doing the things you love with your family immediately. And it's a way to make your room healthier while improving your indoor air quality. You can do tile, slate, granite, ceramic, area rugs, and yes, they're pet friendly too. Why don't you get a free, no obligation estimate today? NeatlyDoneSanAntonio.com.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. The Boss Radio Network.
All right, y'all, we're back, and we're back to Baltimore. This one is from the AP, Associated Press, and it's about Baltimore paying out $6 million in the latest police misconduct settlement. Now, this is from 2010, involving GTTF, and for those that don't know, that is the Gangster Trace, that's the Gun Trace Task Force officers. So what happened was there was a settlement of $6 million to the family of a driver who was killed during a 2010 police chase involving the GTTF officers. The city's latest payout resulting from flagrant misconduct by the rogue law enforcement unit. So Baltimore has now spent $22.2 million to settle nearly 40 cases involving the GTTF. Anyway, officials said during a public meeting at the city spending board Wednesday morning, at least 5 other cases are pending in various stages of litigation. So the task force was created to get to get illegal guns off the street. So much like the Scorpion cops.
That
I was going to use a different
task
word.
force.
I was going to use a different word, but the Scorpion cops in was it Memphis that beat the holy hell out of oh my God, his name's escaping me. Tyree.
Nichols.
Yeah. And unfortunately ended up murdering him. And I think they all have they're still pending, right? They haven't, but I hope they all go to jail. But anyway, so it's very similar. So a lot of these cities have these, like, again, rogue, to use the article's word, cop groups or whatever you want to call them, that
Gangs.
just wreak better word, that just wreak havoc on people because why? They can. So anyway, the point of them was to get illegal guns off the street. And again, to Moran's point that she's mentioned many times, I don't know how that's possible when the cops just go back and get the guns and give them back out to people. But anyway, instead, members robbed drug dealers, planted narcotics and firearms on innocent people, and assaulted random civilians. Now imagine again, you're a black person who maybe you have some stuff on your rap sheet, maybe not, but you're trying to fight for your innocence here. But you're going up against a cop. That's like, nah, that didn't even happen.
But that should never happen. It should not be me versus the blue wall.
Yeah. Like, that union or whatever.
Yeah.
Whew,
and Lakita will kill me if I say what I'm thinking, and it's going to slip out, and I apologize ahead of time. But fuck them. Like, somebody needs to tear down that blue wall.
Yeah.
Because when they leave, they take off their uniform, they're civilians at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So more than a dozen officers have been convicted in the scandal since 2017. Hundreds of cases that hinge on their testimony were later dropped. So city leaders have since undertaken significant efforts to reform the Baltimore Police Department.
No, they haven't.
Excuse me. And I believe, you know what? I'm going to be quiet because I don't remember exactly. So anyway, the Baltimore Police Department, I was going to say, I think someone new came in as, not commissioner, but something. I think Westmore put someone.
Okay.
Anyway, but which remains under a federal consent decree because Justice Department investigators found a pattern of unconstitutional and discriminatory policing practices, especially against black residents. Again, that's what they've been saying. And again, not everybody's innocent, but a lot of these people are. And so you guys are locking them up and keeping them in jail for what? Nothing. Okay. Anyway, so Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, who took office in 2020, said the rising cost of settlements demonstrates the importance of continuing to pursue robust reforms aimed at preventing future misconduct.
Okay, I need you to stop right there. So Brandon Scott said that the rising cost of settlements demonstrate the importance of continuing to pursue robust reforms. How about the dead people? The people that the GTTF killed, the people the GTTF falsely were convicted. So you didn't care about none of that.
We don't know. I mean,
based on what he's saying right there.
But that's not that. First of all, it's not a direct quote. But,
right, but the thing is that he won't address these he doesn't want to have these conversations with reporters. When he's asked certain things, he walks away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't read anything about him being asked specifically about the people who have died, but yeah, I mean, who knows what he would say. But I guess his point with this is that the rising costs are showing that, look, we need reform so we can prevent future misconduct. Yeah, it's a true statement, but what are you going to do about it?
But he backs down as soon as he needs to be reelected, just like every other politician.
And here he says, if anyone's skeptical about police reform should be reminded of their alternative. I don't think anybody's against reform.
No.
So we don't need to be reminded. The alternative is people getting killed in the streets. That's the alternative. And some of that is not the cops. We know that. But some of it is. And not even just the killings, but again, planting stuff on people or lying about this or that. And they end up in jail based off your B.S. testimony or whatever. So it's like, come on.
Yeah, but like I was talking about this a long time ago. We talked about this on the show.
A lot of times.
I clearly remember this starting back in the 90s.
Yeah.
We know that there was a lot of cases. And the crazy thing, what infuriates me the most is that, yes, they caught these GTTF task force members. How about the ones that have moved on, that have gotten a higher class and you know what I'm saying, got promotions?
Well, didn't the one start snitching a little bit and got some people caught
a
up?
lot of them, yeah.
So, but I'm sure there's still more out there.
There's tons still out there. That
Right.
not only have they moved up in Baltimore City Police Department, they have left
Which is
Baltimore
what they
City
do.
and moved to another state, and the corruption continues.
Yeah. And then to that point, again, I talk about Young Turks. I do from time to time, but on that network, Dr. Rashad Ritchie talks a lot about cops and misconduct issues and stuff like that, and he talks about that stuff all the time.
Right.
So it's just crazy.
It's a never-ending story.
Yeah, and here and then of course, like some of these places end up being like, mostly black, not exactly having a lot of money in those areas. So it's like,
But even when you talk to these politicians about this issue, they don't hear you until you bring in finance issues. Because these are tax dollars, $22.2 million have been spent. I'm like, please let me know. That case that we just talked about was from 2010. How about the ones prior to that?
so
This is the guy that got one of the GTTF guys hit him with his car. Then called, and not called for assistance or anything like that. He called his homeboy from the same task force to come and bring him another car, and was going to leave that kid on the ground. And made it look
All right.
like he was trying to rob him. That the kid was trying to do something to them, and they, whatever. The whole
before
story
we go,
was
yeah. I mean, it usually is. It usually makes no sense. And then a year or two later, when the body cam footage comes out, but that's a whole nother issue. But before we go, this last quote from Scott. So this is what happened when we didn't have the oversight, when we didn't have the training, but we still don't, when we didn't go above and beyond to make sure those people that were sworn to protect and serve hadn't turned themselves into the biggest gang in Baltimore. Again, and then Nick Mosby wants to chime in and said the money spent on settlements could have instead supported programs to benefit the city's youth, homeless residents, and other vulnerable groups. Yeah, it could have. So what
coulda, shoulda,
happened?
woulda, but didn't.
What
Now what we
happened?
going to do?
So at any rate, there's a lot to be done, and we'll see what the council and what Mayor Scott are planning to do about this. I mean, it's an ongoing issue. So what are y'all doing? Come on. At any rate, thanks for listening to Deplorable Rhetoric on She's the Boss Radio. It's 24/7, 7 days a week. And if you want to see more about this show or other shows, you can go to she'sthebossradio.com. You can always listen to our shows on TuneIn.com or Shoutcast. You can tell Alexa or Siri to play She's the Boss Radio. You can also follow She's the Boss Radio on Facebook, She's the Boss Radio on Twitter, WSTBRN on IG, and WSTBR on Twitch and Tumblr. You can follow Deplorable Rhetoric on Facebook, Deplorable_Rhetoric on Instagram, and We Rant to Rave, the number 2 on Twitter. Talk at y'all in a couple days, Tuesday.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the Boss Radio Network.